Hello, okay, so hopefully you've watched my previous videos talking about graphic settings, mouse aim, loadouts, and infantry tactics. And now that we've done that, we're going to talk about point holding. Point holding is a really fun thing to do because it means that you can capture bases in underpop. I will say that it's not necessarily the meta, because the meta for the most part is pop dumping bases, so this isn't necessarily optimal, but it's definitely the most fun and is the way that we enjoy playing. I do also owe a huge thanks to Defensive Shades for making this information see the light of day, because he's the one that created all the guides around point holding and kind of pushed forward the meta towards point holding, which I think is a lot more fun than just pop dumping bases, and it's definitely a good alternative to it. So there's some advanced callouts that you may want to use, but the basic ones are going to be things like double doors, big stairs, small stairs, ground floor, fast floor, balcony, things like that. Now there are some more advanced ones that you can go into, but I'll be honest, unless everyone else in the squad knows about them, there's no point using them. So unless it's something that your outfit is at an organizational level has decided to use, just use the basic callouts and they'll be fine. There are some also integral parts of point holding. One of them is C4 and making sure that when big pushes are going through doors that you have the C4 there to relieve the pressure. You also want to, if you can, use grenades in order to again buy time. These are kind of the integral parts of point holding, which a lot of people can do without requiring good aim or any specific skill, and that's like the basic stuff that you guys need to know. And that's also in combination with revive grenades, of course, or the medic should in theory be running bandolier. And you need to know basics again, like collapse on point, which is going to happen in bases where you think that you're about to lose the base, and also it can happen. Collapsing on point can also be a good tool if you're concerned that your squad's slowly getting picked off and you're concerned that they're not going to be within revive distance because they're too far away, and perhaps if that room gets cleared, those people have no way to respawn, so at that point you may tell them to fall back. Ideally, a squad leader would be doing that in a more tactical squad, but if you're in like a two-man squad and it's just one platoon leader leading both squads in a more relaxed way, like we do, for example, you may just tell people to collapse on point during the last 30 seconds to save some grievance over trying to get specific people to do specific things. Of course, as well, I would love to see you guys using your consumables during the last 1 minute of a base capture, because if you start using them early, it's going to get real difficult. So I do recommend, if you can, try to save your grenade bandolier to the last 1 minute. And if you have any heavies which are running bandolier with flashes, for example, again, save for the last 1 minute. Most important way to make sure that you have enough utility to capture the base in the last minute where it gets a bit more dicey. Now, in my loadouts video, I did talk about almost all the point holding loadouts that you can go for. There is also a link to the spreadsheet in the description created by Defensive Shades himself, which should help you a little bit in order to know what to do. You generally want to have at least one infiltrator per base to make sure that you know when people are going to be coming through a door and you can predict it. It just makes things a little bit easier if you know that someone's about to come through a door, and it kind of like raises your awareness up as to if you didn't know they were about to come through the door. Of course, as well, you guys should ideally be using baby gates. If you're in a more casual platoon that's doing point holding, this is something that I think a lot of platoons should work on, because it's something that we've had to work on as well. And the same for, again, turrets are super strong for especially people that haven't got the best mechanical skill. If you just put them on a turret with robots, technician and jockey, they'll generally perform decently. So that's a good way to circumnavigate a lack of skill within your platoon. The other thing about point holding that I see in less skilled outfits like ours, and also other ones that I've observed secondhand, is a lot of the time people will move between different points rather than just staying at one. And so you have these bunch, like half of the squad just like moving from one door to another, trying to get kills, or at least trying to see what's being pressured instead of just staying at one door. And that means that effectively, during that time that they're running, which is a lot of the time, in theory, there's less effective people actually on the base defending the points because they're just running between them. It does also go without saying that you should be using Safeguard, which is super strong. Athlete and Assimilator are also very meta during point hold situations. Strongly recommend them. Flash grenades obviously are great. Concussion grenades are great. So definitely consider those two. One of the least utilized roles in this game is someone that can pre-cap a base or back cap a base. It's very, very strong to do. So you generally want to have, if you're capturing, say, Quartz Ridge, you want to have someone pre-capping the next base. And sometimes that'll actually involve having two people to pre-cap two bases to stop them from back-capping you and retaking the point that you just captured, which will sometimes happen. And it's integral that happens at the second you capture the base you just took, that there's then someone capturing the next base. There shouldn't be a second of delay, which always means that you do get through and get the capture. Another very unutilized thing in Planetside, ejection seats. You always want to be using ejection seats and train your guys to as well. That's not to say that Valkyries are necessarily bad, it's just that in almost all situations, ESF will be better. When you use spawn beacons as well, assuming everyone's ready to spawn on the beacon, they'll drop at the same time, rather than being a little bit less organized when they drop from a Valkyrie. And obviously the Valkyrie is slower, and it's also more likely to die than using a ESF for the most part, assuming you have a decent knowledge of how to evade enemies, which generally involves holding down spacebar, tilting your ESF 90 degrees, and then kind of moving left and right with your mouse instead of with your keyboard. Now, in an ideal situation, you don't really want to be relying on having routers, but if you're in a more relaxed outfit which needs them, you can use them. To be honest, I'd rather outfits be for your platoon only, but right now they are for everyone, which kind of sucks, but it is what it is. So, you might have people stealing kills if you do make the routers, which kind of happens, but it's something you have to kind of just get used to, I guess, if you do use routers. Okay, so I think that's most of the basics. The only other one really is that when you're at the doors with a heavy assault and ideally a medic next to you, you want to be trying to peek the door, try to keep as much surface area away from the door as possible, and just show the minimum possible in order to shoot the enemy. You basically want to slowly clear the doorway by slowly moving left or right if you want to. It depends from base to base, and it's something that you kind of have to feel out. Also, the barriers that you guys use, otherwise known as baby gates, should be placed on the inside and not the outside of door frames. Next, we're going to be going over Zargsarfing. Hope you enjoyed. Make sure you check the playlist in the description. Have a great day, guys. GG.